And I just realized that is a really profound spiritual teaching, isn't it? That if we could just get that everything is a blessing, truly everything, then how profound would that be in our lives? So thank you, Anthony. That's an Anthony original, of course. And I believe it's on your CD, is it? No? Oh, it's on the next one. Okay. Next one. Okay, so we have to wait for the next one. All right. Our speaker this morning is Reverend Doug Craig. And I'm going to do the meditation before he comes up and speaks. So I think what I'll do is I'll introduce him now so that when the meditation is done, instead of disrupting that space, I'll just step down and then Doug can come up and, yeah, does that work? Okay. So Reverend Doug Craig, he is someone who walks the talk and has been on this journey for almost 40 years. And I'm very excited to hear what he has to share with us today about going to and arriving from the Promised Land. So let's begin by singing I Surrender as we move into our meditation. And then we'll sing I Surrender again as we move out. Thanks, Anthony.
I surrender. I trust and I know that as I surrender, I fall into the arms of love.
Take a deep breath in and let it go. And take another deep breath in. And as you let it go, letting go of all the busyness of the morning, all the thoughts of what's coming up for you later today or later this week, any worries or concerns that are on your mind or on your heart. With each breath, just letting them go, imagining them being taken away by helium balloons as they arise, bringing yourself present to this very moment. And on your next breath in, I invite you to connect your awareness to your heart, your beautiful beating heart, the background beat of your life that goes on 24/7, supporting you in each and every moment. It's also the portal to love and the portal of connection, our connection to our source, our connection to love, our connection to each other. And I invite you to deeply open and surrender. Removing any resistance, removing any concern, any stress. With each breath in, opening more deeply, and surrendering to love. Let yourself fall into the arms of love, knowing that you are supported. You are held. Opening up your crown chakra, allowing the love and the healing of the universe to flow into your heart. Feeling roots growing from the soles of your feet, allowing the beautiful support and love and peace of Mother Earth to rise up. For you are this bridge between heaven and earth. You are that connection point. And as you open and surrender to love, you allow this field, this vibration to move through you, to heal any internal divisions, to heal those wounds, to know that everything is a blessing. And everything is there for us to learn, to grow. If it's in our path, if it's in our experience, it is there for us. And it is for us to see how it is for our good. Perhaps it's to open up to some place of love that we have not opened before, or to access a strength we didn't know we had, or deeper levels of compassion for another. I invite you to take a breath in and be grateful for it all. And to know that whenever life gets crazy and unpredictable and difficult, that all we need to do is tune into this place of love that exists here 24/7. Just like your heartbeat. You can fall and surrender into the arms of love. And I invite you now to gently bring your awareness back to the room. Feeling your feet on the floor. Feeling centered and grounded and ready to receive this beautiful message. And so it is.
it's funny or it's not. How synchronicity works with the daily word today, and the song Anthony selected, Everything is a Blessing, and the particular meditation we did, I Surrender, because all of those really indicate a place that we want to be and a way we need to approach it to get there. So what I'm going to do is just take it to the next step and talk about the journey, because it's never about a destination, it's always about a journey. Because whenever we arrive at a destination, it becomes counterproductive because it becomes our past. So it's never about that, it's about getting there. And so one of the key things in the journey, we all run into storms. And this I come across a few months ago, and I've been using and focusing this on every day because I've been going through a few storms. So if you're going through a few storms, this puts a different perspective on it. Not all storms come to disrupt your life. Some storms come to clear the way. Okay? So generally, if you're in this philosophy and teaching and you've been working with it over a period of time, the storms that come to you come to clear the way. However, you well know if you get caught in this storm, it's not a whole lot of fun. You have to be shifting your consciousness and energy to find the way to clear out of that. Because we're not responsible for all storms. We're only responsible for us being involved in it and what we do with it. Right? That's what we got to get straight. So anyhow, what I chose to talk about today is one of the most famous and profound characters in the Bible, in the Old Testament, by the name of Moses. We all know the story, him being plucked from the waters and raised as one of the elite, and then going back to be a Hebrew, finding the Ten Commandments, and a lot of great things and a lot of great challenges along the way. However, what I'm going to focus in on today is one part of his journey, which in my opinion is the most powerful one for us today in our day-to-day life. And so that journey is a drama that unfolds in 3 different acts. So Act 1 is Moses in Egypt. Act 2 is Moses in Midian. And Act 3 is Moses in the wilderness. Now, we're clear about how much time he spent in the wilderness, but in Scripture he spent 40 years in each of these places. And the last one, going into the wilderness, was not because men don't ask for directions. It's not that. Let's be clear about that. Although it's probably true under most circumstances. Oh, we all know that. Guys, come on. Anyhow, so we're looking at what each one of those means to you and me today and on our journey. So let's get clear about 40 years. And by the way, this interpretation and ideas I presented was stimulated by a book called The Hidden Mysteries of the Bible, which was written by a minister of religious science by the name of Jack Addington. And along with the Unity Metaphysical Bible Dictionary, it gives us a whole different perspective on this. So it's 40 years, folks. That doesn't mean, be real clear, this 40 years and each step does not go like this. Thank God I've done that one. It's not like that. It's like this. All the time. It's continually going on until you exit out of the physical form. So don't think it's about, well, I'll get this and then I'll be free from doing it. It doesn't work like that. If this is your first time here and you don't know nothing about this philosophy, it might be good for you to leave now. Because unfortunately, once you get the next step and find out that you can be in control of things in your life, you can't go back into being a victim that much anymore. Try as you can, you can't stay there, folks. It just doesn't work that way. because it'll eat at you. Okay? So let's get right down to these steps. So 40 is a definite and complete period of time. It indicates a stage of spiritual growth and consciousness and a completed part of the spiritual unfoldment. So you know your unfoldment is continually happening and growing. And we continually are living in all three of these places at the same time and advancing to different levels of understanding. So, Act 1, Moses in Egypt. Egypt, as Jack Addington says, is we start out in the bondage to our physical senses. Sooner or later, we must all come to the conclusion that when we give our attention to the outer effects, we are in bondage to our possessions, and this means instead of possessing our possessions possess us. All in one. That could be one of those things that you do for the... Yeah, that's what they call it, yeah. So anyhow, that's where we're in the stage where the physical conditions and circumstances, we allow that to be the end result, and then that controls and dictates a lot of our moods. Anybody ever said, when you said that, you hurt me? Has anybody ever had that said to them? Yeah. I have it. I've had it a few times here too, and I just say, please, don't give me that much personal power in your life. I don't want that much power. Take back your power, and you choose to be hurt by what I said. I didn't hurt you. So I don't feel bad for what I said because I knew my intention. I feel bad that you chose to give away your personal power to me by saying I hurt your feelings. I didn't hurt them. That's a choice. Now again, we're going to come across those people that are extremely nasty and we're going to be hurt. But the way we stand to them is choose to be hurt. I choose to be hurt by what's going on, and then deal with the person. That's what we got to do. Take back that control over our life and over the physical conditions. Because when we give it out to the physical conditions, well, hey, how are you doing today? I don't know. Haven't checked the stock market. I'll let you know in a minute. Right? Gotta see what the weather is. I'll let you know how it is once I check the weather. I'll know whether I'm going to be good or not. Condition. Okay, and we all do that in one degree or another, and that's what we got to get away from, because none of the conditions are dependent upon what we're going to do and how we're going to respond. And so we're slaves to conditions and experiences. So many people, and there's nothing wrong with owning assets, but so many people are worried about their assets, and man, assets take a lot of upkeep. We got rid of all our assets years ago. We got nothing but a couple of old cars. Man, does it free up a lot of time for other things, like fun. Okay. Aren't you worried about this? No. Why should I be? I did stuff 50 years ago that was really terrible. If I was going to worry, I'd have never made it through that. Never mind this. God always provides. It's right there, as long as we're in the right headspace, okay? So the drama unfolds there, and then Moses goes to lead the people out of Egypt, to lead them out of bondage and slavery to the physical. So they do that, and there's trials and tribulations, all that stuff. Too much to get into, but you know what it's like. And so he goes to the land of the Midian, the second act. Midian is a mental realm. Addington says it represents the discrimination or judgment in sense consciousness. We come to see the utter futility of working with effects, continually struggling with conditions. The first step out of this bondage is one of intellectual enlightenment, discovering the law of cause and effect. To find that changing our thinking alters the effects is a great step forward. No longer are we at the mercy of conditions and circumstances. Do our possessions possess us? Now we have dominion over them. So that's the next step. We learn about cause and effect. I remember learning about that. Man, I actually took my first course in the first part of 1979, 40 years ago. and then I went through hell for the rest of the year. Okay, so like when Anna and I went, I had a near-death experience in Italy, emergency medical thing, 25 days, major surgery. I don't call that a bad year. That was a bad experience. This was a bad year. Too many to tell you, but I'll outline a couple of them when I get to that. So that's the dominion. We could take control, and I begin to work with that even though everything was going downhill. And that took me to a different place at the end of the year, which I'll explain in a minute. But so that's beginning to, yeah, I'm starting to get this. I am feeling good about taking control over things instead of giving my control to them. Those are the easy ones. Okay, folks? Those are the easy steps. Then we get to this other one. Moses in the wilderness, okay? So, you see, when you go through the wilderness, what's on the other side? The promised land. That's where everybody wants to be. You want to be in the promised land? I can tell you what you get there. Slowly it comes. It's called peace, prosperity, fulfillment, and happiness. No possessions there. But I'll take those over any possession, won't you? And I can guarantee you, over a period of time, that begins to develop within you. That's the greatest gift I've got out of this, of working it all the time for 40 years, was I'm getting to that point where I'm experiencing more of that than I am the other stuff. Way more of it. Do we still have that other stuff? Oh yeah, but we don't want to talk about that, because we all got that. You don't get free from that. If you get free from that, you go toodle off to the next experience, wherever that be. There's no use you being here, right? So don't ever think you're over, because it isn't. There's no fat lady singing the blues here, folks. We continue. Okay? And so that's the act of faith. There's no signposts going here, going here. Every now and again they ran out of water. Everybody freaks. When you shut down spiritual ideas and close that off when you're on that journey, you don't have water. We close off the mind. We got to have water. We got to open it up to get the sustenance from the Spirit in. So when the going gets tough, the tough got to get going. No giving up. We got to just keep going and one foot forward to the other and do the right things with the correct intention, and the Spirit will always give us what we need. Unfortunately, it doesn't do it when we want it. Because with the Spirit, you're on a as-need-to-know basis. And don't think it's ever going to be any different, because it isn't. You're only fooling yourself. So if you can't get it working when you want it to work, let it go, because it's working the way it's supposed to. Did you hear that? Think about that. Okay? You gotta get out of there. I surrender. Hello. Right? That's the first step. I've only been working on that for 40 years. I'm getting somewhere now. Okay? So, arriving at the promised land. And that's what we get. The reward is a higher degree of peace, prosperity, fulfillment, and happiness. A higher degree of awareness, so we act upon rather than reacting to life in a better way. Because when we react to it, we become part of the problem instead of part of the solution. And then, of course, you know, on the journey, everybody likes to be right. And remember, the law and the truth is, you always get to be right. There's never a question about that. It's just, what do you want to be right about? That's the only question you got to ask yourself. Okay, so as you well know, I'm going to go on and talk about this in another perspective. And I always like to do a little sharing. I don't talk about stuff I'm working on. Big list over here. But I got a really big list of things that I've accomplished and learned. And so there I am this year. On the second Sunday of January, I'm doing the talk at CSL Calgary. That's going to be 40 years from the day I walked through the doors in the center. And I'm going to talk about the 3 most important things I learned in 40 years. However, there's the year before that, which was 1979. And I'm living it all over again. It was the roughest, toughest experience of my lifetime. And I'll share what I discovered. You know, I worked for years with people. And you ever work with people, or you ever know people that had a block and they get into this philosophy and all of a sudden they remember horrors of their past that they had no idea existed? And I remember working with people, God, how sad is that? To be carrying that and never know. I guess I'll never know what that's like. Wrong. So I'm just going to talk about 2 of the experiences. And this is how smart and how much I know this stuff and how well I was at fooling myself. You get really good at fooling yourself when you get in this. Okay, get really smart at fooling yourself. So I had 2 experiences. One I put into 1980. I didn't even want to have it in 79. They were 2 months apart. And one in 79 that was bad. And what I'll tell you about that one, and I'll outline the other one. But in 1979, in that one incident, I got busted and charged with trafficking. Looking at 2 to 5, I had a bunch of ecstasy and stuff like that. And I was the height of my gang career. I've been, I was in it for 10 and a half years, but at that time, I was at the height of my gang career. I've been 6.5 years on the executive running the show at that time. So I was very well known. You know, people, they were known by the police. Alberta, BC, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and Montana. Okay? And, so it was a bad day, you know, I got interrogated, I got beat up, I got all kinds of things. And home, and my kids were there, my 3 little girls, I get busted and taken to jail, and, you know, stuff like that, bad day. That was just the day. 2 months later, it was a family wedding, where I finally, after admitted I had a drinking problem, as well as a severe drug problem, a cocaine addiction and alcohol abuse. And I did something really bad at the wedding that I never knew about. And what I thought I picked up that I did, and nobody in the family ever talked to me until last fall. I got invited to that side. The family invited me to a family function for the first time since that, and of course the topic come up and I found out what I really did. It was way worse than what I thought. So there I am with these 2 events, and they both cropped up. My daughter talking about the 3 of them standing on the steps yelling or crying, and together at 4, 5, and 6 years old, don't hurt our dad, don't hurt our dad, as I'm getting thrown in the cop car taken to jail. And you know, that's pretty bad, right? And so both of those things I found out I didn't feel very good about it. But I didn't remember. Honest to God, I did not remember. And I didn't know with doing this, why could I not remember? It was strange, because I do all this work. How come that's blocked out? Because I did used to drink a lot, have blackouts, so there's lots, and I don't want to remember neither, to be honest with you. Well, April was the event, 40 years, got that? 40 years of the anniversary of one event. And June was the 40th wedding anniversary of the folks. By the way, I got invited back to the family thing this year, too. Okay, it was the event of that. And so what happened to me in April and June, unbeknown to me, and Anna will say that because we processed a lot. This took a lot of crying and tears and hours to process this. The box lifted, Pandora's box opened. And the lid come off. And guess what I was rewarded with? Those 2 experiences, the total memory of it, and the feelings that went with that. holy crap, folks. And you know, why did I block that off? I could not have made it through what I did if I had to do it. I had a hard enough time 40 years later. And then, to top it all off, the other animal was in there from my first drug addiction on needles in '72. And it was in my face. And then a few other things that I had dealt with, but just not the shame. It was all about shame. And I got to tell you, it's been the toughest couple of 3 or 4 months that I've gone through for years, okay, of processing that. And so, you know, this is 40 years. Significant, huh? Wow, 40 years. However, the cycle never quits. And I've been absolutely devastated emotionally. I was sicker than a dog, off and on still every day. Devastated by it. However, on the other hand, whenever one goes through that, one must look for the gift in the situation. And you think you know it there, but the gift is not revealed till quite a bit later. And I got to tell you, it's happened to me many times before, and the gift has always been way better than the pain I go through. So I'm kind of excited in a way until I get that feeling, then I'm not really that excited about it anymore. But once I process the feeling, and there is only one way, I don't care what anybody says, there is only one way to get that crap out of you. And that's when the feeling comes, to feel it. Let it hurt. Let it rip. Because all it is energy stored in your body, and that's the purging and the purifying. So I'm really excited sometimes about what's going to happen. Because it don't matter how old you are. I've doing this 40 years. I'm 70. It's still happening. And I'm still getting excited about what is going to happen. So how long am I going to do this and keep going? Till I'm gone. Just like you. So never give up on spirit. Never give up on this philosophy. Never give up on these steps. But most of all, don't give up on yourself. Because it's when we give up on ourselves that things go south. So I'll close with these words of Dr. Ernest Holmes regarding the prayer of faith. He says that faith is a mental attitude which is so convinced of its own idea, which so completely accepted that any contradiction is unthinkable and impossible. So as I declare this for you, I declare it and accept it for myself. I know it to be so, and so it is. Thank you.